Imagine this. You've saved for months, maybe even years. Your bags are packed, your tickets are booked, your family is waiting at the airport gate. But when you step up to the checkpoint, an agent looks at your ID, pauses, and says four words that stop everything cold. This won't be accepted. Suddenly, your entire trip is on the line. Your vacation, your reunion, your once-in-a-lifetime journey, all of it hanging on a single card in your wallet. That's exactly why this new travel warning is so important, especially if you or someone in your family is over 65. Starting in January 2026, confirmed changes to passport and ID requirements are set to impact millions of travelers across the country. And the truth is, many Americans still don't know about them. These aren't small tweaks or minor updates. Some of these changes could affect how you board a plane, how you pass through security, and even whether your current ID is considered valid for domestic flights. If you show up unprepared, you could face delays, extra screening, or, in some cases, denied entry at the checkpoint. And here's the part that makes this so urgent. Many seniors are still using older identification cards that may not meet the newest standards. That means your parents, your grandparents, or even you could be affected without realizing it. This isn't about politics. It's not about headlines. It's about your travel plans, your time, and your wallet. Because last-minute ID replacements, expedited passports, and missed flights can cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So in this video, we're breaking down the 8 confirmed passport and ID changes that start in 2026. We'll explain what they mean, who they affect, and what you need to do right now to avoid problems at the airport. Stay with us, because some of the most important changes are the ones most travelers never see coming. The Real ID deadline is no longer a warning for years. Americans have heard about the Real ID deadline. It's been delayed, postponed, and pushed back so many times that many people stopped paying attention. But now, the timeline is real, and it's getting closer than ever. Starting in 2026, you'll need a Real ID-compliant driver's license or another accepted form of identification to board domestic flights. That means your standard state ID may no longer be enough, even if you've been using it for years without any issues. The Real ID is easy to recognize. It usually has a star in the upper corner of the card, but millions of Americans still don't have one. And many of them are seniors who simply haven't renewed their licenses recently. If you show up at the airport with a non-compliant ID, you could face extra screening, delays, or even be turned away from the security checkpoint. That's not the kind of surprise anyone wants when they're traveling. And here's where it hits your wallet. If you realize your ID isn't compliant just days before your trip, you may have to pay for expedited documents, last-minute appointments, or even new flight bookings. Those costs can add up fast. For seniors living on fixed incomes, that kind of unexpected expense can be devastating. A simple oversight could turn into hundreds of dollars in travel disruptions. The message is simple. Check your ID now. Don't wait until you're standing in a security line with a boarding pass in your hand. Because by 2026, the Real ID won't just be recommended, it'll be required. Passport renewals are getting stricter. Another major change coming in 2026 involves passport renewals. For many years, renewing a passport was a relatively simple process, especially if you'd kept your documents up to date. But new verification standards are making that process more detailed. The goal is security. Authorities want to reduce fraud and identity theft. But for travelers, especially seniors, the result may be longer processing times and more paperwork. In some cases, applicants may be asked to provide additional documentation to confirm their identity, address history, or citizenship. That means you may need to dig up old records, birth certificates, or supporting documents that you haven't looked at in years. If you wait until the last minute, you could run into serious problems. Passport processing times can stretch for weeks or even months during busy travel seasons. And if extra verification is required, that timeline could grow even longer. Now imagine this. Your cruise leaves in 6 weeks, but your passport renewal is still under review. You're calling hotlines, paying for expedited service, and hoping everything arrives in time. That stress and those extra fees are exactly what these new rules could create for unprepared travelers. For seniors planning international trips, the safest move is to renew passports early. Even if your passport still has time left, check the expiration date. Many countries require at least 6 months of validity before they'll let you in. Waiting could cost you time, money, and peace of mind. The 6-month passport rule is being enforced more strictly. One of the most overlooked travel rules is the 6-month passport validity requirement. Many countries won't allow you to enter if your passport expires within 6 months of your arrival date. In the past, enforcement of this rule was inconsistent. Some travelers slipped through, others were stopped at the gate. But starting in 2026, enforcement is expected to become much stricter across airlines and security checkpoints. That means your passport might look perfectly fine to you, still valid, still in good condition, but it could still block your trip. This change is especially important for seniors who don't travel internationally very often. If you only leave the country once every few years, it's easy to forget about expiration timelines. Picture this. You're at the airport, ready for a long-planned family vacation overseas. You hand over your passport, and the airline agent points out that it expires in 4 months. Suddenly, you're not boarding that flight. No refund, no boarding pass, just a canceled trip and a financial hit you didn't expect. Airlines are becoming stricter because they can be fined if they transport passengers who don't meet entry requirements. So they're checking more carefully than ever before. The lesson here is simple. Check your passport today, not next month, not next year, today. Because if your passport falls inside that 6-month window, your travel plans could be in serious trouble. Digital ID systems are expanding. Another major change coming into 2026 is the expansion of digital ID systems at airport checkpoints. Some airports are already testing mobile driver's licenses and digital identification stored on smartphones. On the surface, this sounds convenient. No more fumbling through your wallet. No more worrying about lost cards. Just a quick scan on your phone, and you're through security. But for seniors, this shift could feel confusing or overwhelming. Not everyone uses smartphones for identification. Not everyone is comfortable with digital wallets or apps. And while physical IDs will still be accepted, more airports are expected to introduce digital ID lanes and systems. That means the travel experience could start to look very different from what many people are used to. If you're not prepared, you might find yourself in slower lines or dealing with unfamiliar processes. That can create stress, especially in busy airports. There's also the issue of technical problems. Dead phone batteries, app glitches, or outdated software could cause delays at the worst possible moment. The key takeaway is this: digital ID options are expanding, but they're not replacing physical IDs yet. Still, it may be worth learning how these systems work, especially if you travel often, because in the near future, your phone might be just as important as your passport when it comes to getting through security. Name matching rules are being tightened. Another change that could catch travelers off guard involves name matching between your ticket and your ID. While this rule has always existed, enforcement is expected to become stricter in 2026. Your boarding pass name must match your ID exactly. That includes middle names, hyphenated names, and suffixes. Even small differences could cause delays. For seniors, this issue comes up more often than you might think. Some people travel under married names. Others still have IDs issued under older naming conventions. And sometimes airline tickets are booked with nicknames or shortened versions of legal names. Those small differences might not have mattered much before, but stricter enforcement could mean extra screening or even denied boarding. Imagine arriving at the airport only to be told that the name on your ticket doesn't match your ID. Now you're rushing to fix the issue, paying change fees, or rebooking flights at higher prices. It's a simple fix if you catch it early. Always double-check that your ticket matches your ID exactly before you finalize a booking. That small step could save you hours of stress and a lot of money. Secondary screening may increase for certain IDs. Starting in 2026, Travelers with older or less common forms of identification may face more frequent secondary screening at airport checkpoints. This doesn't mean you'll be denied travel, but it could mean longer lines, extra questions, and additional security checks. For seniors, this is especially important. Some older state IDs, expired passports, or alternative identification documents may still be accepted, but they could trigger extra screening. That means you may need to arrive at the airport earlier than usual. What used to be a smooth, quick process could now take much longer. And if you miss your flight because of unexpected delays, the financial impact can be significant. Change fees, new tickets, hotel adjustments, it all adds up. The safest approach is to travel with the most widely accepted forms of ID whenever possible. A real ID-compliant license or a valid passport will usually provide the smoothest experience. Because when it comes to airport security, the right ID can mean the difference between a calm trip and a stressful one. Expedited document fees are rising. Another change travelers may feel directly in their wallets is the increase in expedited processing fees for passports and identification documents. When demand rises, so do the costs. And with new requirements coming into effect, more people are expected to rush to renew or replace their IDs. That surge in applications can lead to longer wait times and higher fees for expedited service. If you suddenly realize your passport is expired or your ID isn't compliant, you might have to pay extra just to get your documents in time for your trip. For seniors on fixed incomes, these unexpected costs can be especially difficult. A rushed passport renewal could cost hundreds of dollars when you factor in fees, travel to passport offices, and possible flight changes. Planning ahead is the best way to avoid these expenses. Renew early. Check expiration dates. Make sure your ID meets the newest standards, because waiting until the last minute almost always costs more. Airline check-in policies are changing too. It's not just government rules that are changing. Airlines themselves are tightening check-in policies related to identification. Many carriers are increasing their document checks at the counter, and even during online check-in. Some systems now verify passport validity dates automatically. If there's a problem, you may not even be able to complete online check-in. Instead, you'll be directed to the airport counter, where the issue must be resolved in person. That adds time, stress, and uncertainty to your travel day. For seniors who prefer early check-in or printed boarding passes, these changes could feel frustrating. But airlines are making these updates to avoid penalties and keep flights running smoothly. The key is preparation. Make sure your documents are up to date before you book your trip, not just before you leave. Because once your ticket is purchased, fixing ID problems becomes much more expensive. So, what does all of this mean for you, your family, and your wallet? It means the rules are changing, and the safest move is to prepare early. Check your driver's license. Make sure it's real ID compliant. Look at your passport expiration date. If it's within a year of expiring, consider renewing it now. Double-check that your ticket name matches your ID exactly. And if you're planning international travel, make sure your passport meets the 6-month validity rule. These small steps today can prevent major headaches tomorrow. Because the last thing anyone wants is to watch their travel plans fall apart at a security checkpoint. This isn't just about documents, it's about peace of mind. It's about protecting your time, your savings, and the moments you've been looking forward to. Stay informed. Stay prepared. And if this kind of update matters to you and your family, make sure you keep following the latest travel news, because the next change could come sooner than you think.